Hey, what's up guys, hope you're all doing well. So I thought for today's video it would be a cool idea to go through all the different Predator weapons from all the movies and rank them one by one, from S, which is the coolest, all the way down to F. So this will be kind of a mix of the kind of deadliness and efficiency of the weapon, along with the kind of cool factor of it as well, kind of how badass it is mixed with how efficient it is at hunting. So just before we get started, I just wanted to apologise for I know it's been a little while between uploads. I've been a little bit busy at my other job that I have and other stuff in my life, but I am back now. So with that out of the way, let's begin with the classic plasma caster, first featured in the first movie, and I believe it's been featured in every movie except the latest one, Prey. So definitely a very efficient and cool weapon. So S tier, I would say, for how classic and iconic it is. It's one of the things you would associate with the Predators themselves, the plasma caster. So next is the other main Predator weapon, the wrist blades. I don't know if these these pictures are big enough to make them out. Hopefully they should be, but that's the wrist blades there. Also from the first movie, and I think seen in every single film. Also one of the most iconic and cool looking weapons, especially these really big ones they had in AVP. I thought they were really cool as well. I thought it was a bit weird how it looked too big to fit in the gauntlet, but I thought it was just kind of cool, just because they were so big in that film. I think my favourite look is probably the original though, where it kind of actually looked like the blades themselves would fit into the wrist gauntlet. Also a very deadly weapon up close. It's the Predator's version of a knife and a gun from the original film. So alongside the plasma caster, I'll put the wrist blades in S tier because how cool they are, how deadly they are, and how iconic they are as well. So moving on to Predator 2, one of the new weapons that was introduced in that movie, the smart disc, which was basically like a frisbee with a computer inside it. He would throw it at his prey and it would cut through them and then fly back and he would catch it, which is really cool, kind of like a boomerang. Like I think they do have hunting boomerangs in real life. So again, very, very cool idea, very creative on the part of the whoever designed the Predator 2 weapons and the creature design and all that stuff. So again, very cool idea for a weapon. I like it when they get creative with them. Those are my favourite ones, the ones that sort of make you think like, oh yeah, that's really cool, but something that could actually work in real life if we had the technology. So again, alongside the other two, S tier I would say for the smart disc, another very iconic and cool deadly weapon that the Predators use. And here we have the net gun, which was first shown in Predator 2. This is one of the ones like I think if I had to choose a Predator weapon that I didn't want to get killed with, it would have to be the net gun. I think that looks like the most brutal way to die at the hands of a Predator. So very cool and deadly efficient weapon, although its weakness was shown in AVP because when the Predator shot it at the alien's acid blood burned through it and the alien was able to escape and killed the Predator. So that was kind of cool how it was a really cool weapon, but it did have a weakness as well, which is kind of interesting. So while it is very, very cool and deadly, I would say it's not quite as iconic as some of these others. It's probably not one of the first weapons you think of, so I would say I'll knock it down a tier from S into A, so still a very top tier weapon, but maybe not quite as iconic as the others. And moving on to another very iconic weapon also introduced in Predator 2 was the combi stick, which was a telescopic spear, a polearm weapon that the Predator used in that movie, and it has been featured in a few other films after Predator 2 as well. A very deadly melee weapon, just like the wrist blades, but with much better reach than the wrist blades themselves. So it is, and they also can be thrown like you would throw a javelin as well. So it does have some range capability. I remember in that AVP game from 2010, literally the only thing you used the combi stick for, it was a throwing weapon in that game. And then I remember in that PS2 game, AVP Extinction, one of the unit types had the combi stick. The Spearmasters, I think they were called. So again, I'll put that in A, because it's maybe not quite as iconic. Actually, no, tell you what, I will say S. It probably is about the same as the Smart Disc in terms of being iconic and memorable, if not more, because it's probably been in more films, actually, to be honest. Something I would like, speaking of the Smart Disc, something I would like to see is this original type return, because I think we've only seen the Shuriken type of Smart Disc, but not the traditional Smart Disc like Predator 2, so that would be cool to see something like that in another movie. Right, next we have the Energy Flechette, which is a lesser known weapon, which was also first introduced in Predator 2. Basically a miniature version of the plasma caster, but it's on the wrist gauntlet, and it's in the meat packing warehouse where he shoots it at Harrigan. But I believe that was the only real appearance that it made, so I guess it's kind of like a backup weapon because he uses it when his main plasma caster stops working. In the Predator, the Assassin Predator, I think it's up for debate whether or not his is actually an energy flechette, because it looks more like a plasma caster that's just attached to the wrist rather than a flechette like this, which is basically seems to be like a backup weapon for the plasma caster. So I'd say it's not that deadly because it hits Harrigan, but he has a bulletproof vest on, I believe, and it doesn't go through that. So it's nowhere near as powerful as a plasma caster, a proper plasma caster, I should say, the larger model. Because I think that would probably go through a bulletproof vest, but the flechette didn't. It just sort of knocked him back. So I say it's less deadly than these other weapons we've seen so far, as all these basically seem to be able to deliver a one-hit kill on human, whereas the flechette did not, or at least when he was wearing armour. Also, it's not as memorable as well. I remember I didn't even sort of think about it really until I started looking a bit more into Predator and getting a bit more into it and looking on the internet and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, he did have that sort of little one on his wrist, didn't he? So not really that memorable or deadly. So I'd put it lower down in probably D. It's not a terrible weapon, but it's not really a go-to weapon, I think, that a Predator would choose. It's more of a reserve weapon that he would use in an emergency. So moving on to AVP, there were a couple new weapons introduced, which first we'll take a look at the Shuriken, which is basically a variant of the Smart Disc, but it has a smaller form to it with these long blades that extend from the handle. It was maybe a little bit less believable, you know, how would all these fit into that tiny thing? Kind of like the wrist blades in that film, basically, but it does look really cool. I like the design of the Shuriken, and something else you'll notice as well, that in AVP, and AVPR, I think, as well, whenever they have these, they'll carry more than one. You know, they'll have like 2 or 3 of them sort of attached to their like belt. And I remember in AVP2, the Predator, I think he threw 2 of them at once at one point, which was really cool. So I would say I would put it at an S, just like the original because it's basically a cooler looking version of the smart disc. So, what's this here? They were called scimitars, I think, which the Chopper Predator had in AVP, which were basically single versions of wrist blades, and there were larger versions of the wrist blades as well, so it had one on each forearm. Bit of a shame we didn't get to see them in action because he got killed so quickly before we could see him use them, but I would like to see this weapon return in a future Predator movie. If you've played Predator Concrete Jungle, if you remember the Maul from that game, I think that was kind of based on this, but it was like a handheld version of it rather than being mounted on the gauntlet and retractable. That was probably the best melee weapon in that game. But for this video, I thought I'd just stick to the weapons from the movies that everyone would have heard of. So I'd say probably I would put the scimitars in A because they're not iconic like these ones, but apart from that, I'd say they are just as cool and deadly as any of these other weapons. And next we have the plasma pistol from AVP2, which the Wolf Predator made from his plasma caster. He ripped it off and then sort of made it into a pistol, I think for more accuracy, probably, so he could just point at it rather than having to wait for his biomass to aim and aim at the xenomorphs, because the xenomorphs were really quick and he missed a lot of the shots. I think that's why he did it. And it was cool as well, kind of at the end of the movie, like this picture here where you see it in that briefcase, because the humans picked it up afterwards, didn't they? And I remember hearing, actually, one of the first scripts they had for an AVP3 movie, it was going to have this scene where we see it in the briefcase, and then it was going to sort of fade from this picture here into a spaceship in space. And then that film was going to be set in the future, but that was going to be how humans got the technology to build spacecraft and stuff, was from this plasma pistol that got lost. So I guess they harnessed the plasma energy technology from it and used it to advance Earth's technology, which is a cool idea, I must admit. It's a bit of a shame we didn't get a third AVP movie, because even if it wouldn't have been the best movie, I would have liked something rather than nothing. So it's basically a plasma caster, but not quite as memorable or iconic as the standard model. So I would put it in B, because it is still a really powerful weapon, just not as iconic or memorable. But it was something cool that movie did have. And then next, the Razor Whip that the Wolf Predator also had. Another really cool weapon, how he would sort of whip it and it would wrap around the xenomorph, and then he'd pull it and it would slice them into pieces. I thought that was pretty cool. Lesser known weapon again, I would say probably A again, because it was very efficient, just not quite as well known, because I'm pretty sure it only appeared in that one film. Next we have the laser mines that the Wolf Predator had in AVPR again. I don't know if I'd really call it a weapon. Calling it a weapon might be pushing it. It was more like a mine, a laser trap that you would use to block the xenomorphs into that one area of the sewer. But then when one did go through it, did get cut by the laser. So I would put that probably in a little bit further down in E, because it's not. Actually, no. Tell you what, D. I'd say it's okay. It's not memorable. It's not that cool, but it is kind of cool. So yeah. And then moving on to Prey, because in Predators and the Predator, we didn't really get any new weapons introduced. Really, maybe. I don't know if I would class. Sorry, I don't know if I would class the Falcon as a weapon or the Predator Hounds from Predators, because one's an animal and one was a reconnaissance drone, but we didn't see it actually engage anybody. And then the Predator, they just had plasma caster and wrist blade and shuriken, which we'd seen before. So, although Prey did introduce some cool new weapons, which was probably my favourite thing about that film, was the new main weapon that Predator had, which was the bolt gun, which was actually really, really cool and interesting and creative design, I thought. Especially how I thought it was like really cool, you know, when he aims with the 3 dots, and then you see the 3 dots, you think, oh, it's the Predator, but then the dots split up, and you're like what's going on? And then each of them 3 dots targets a different body part, and then he shoots like 3 bolts, and then they each go to where one of them laser dots was. I thought that was a really, really cool idea. So I would say the bolt gun that the Feral Predator had from Prey would go in S tier, I think. I think it's sort of belongs up there with the best Predator weapons. I think it was very creative. That's what I liked about it so much. It was just very, very good a very imaginative idea that they had, I thought, and a cool sort of alternate to a plasma caster that maybe a Predator from a few hundred years ago might have had instead of a plasma caster. So that is one of my favourite weapons. And then we have the throwable version of the net, the razor net that the Feral Predator had, which just like the bolt gun, I thought it was a cool idea for basically the same weapon as the net gun, but just like an earlier predecessor to it. So I thought that was another cool idea that they had. So I would say maybe a little bit lower than A tier, because it's kind of cool how it shoots out, isn't it? But it is cool how, like for an older version of it, he would throw it. So I put that in B. And then lastly, we have the cut clamp, also from Prey. I thought that was kind of an interesting weapon / tool. It was more of a tool that he would use to free himself from a bear trap or something like that. But he also did use it as a weapon. He like threw it at that guy, Raphael, and cut his leg off with it, didn't he? I remember watching the film, the first thing it reminded me of that came to my mind was them snap bracelets you get when you're a kid. I remember they sort of, they'll be like flat, and then you sort of hit on your wrist and it sort of curls around the wrist. That's the first thing that reminded me of. So I would probably put that in B tier, because it's not really that iconic, because it's all memorable. It's only from the latest film, isn't it? But it's still kind of cool and pretty deadly, although it wouldn't probably kill someone unless you like cut the head off with it. But it's more to maybe use as a backup weapon, like you would the energy flechette, a backup weapon / a tool for freeing the Predator if he gets stuck in traps or what have you. So that's my ranking of the Predator weapons from the movies. If I missed any, let me know what you think they would go in and what they are if I missed anything. I'm pretty sure I remembered all the main weapons from the movies. Or if there's any other weapons that you really liked from the games or anything else like that. So be sure to let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching my video. Remember to give it a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time.